Social Work in Public Libraries, Creating Hope for the Homeless in Yellowknife. Part 3, How Social Workers Help the Homeless. The mission of the United Way is to improve lives and build community by engaging individuals and mobilizing collective action. We at the Yellowknife Public Library also aim to better our community. David Lanke said it best when he argued that libraries must be able to identify community needs. They must be able to help the community organize around those needs, including understanding those needs in light of larger community agendas, like economic development, for example. For too long, librarians have seen service as standing ready to serve. You must expect them to understand that no one changed the world by standing ready. We are grateful to you, as board members of the United Way, for expressing an interest in partnering with the Yellowknife Public Library by placing a social worker in our library to assist the homeless. In this video, we'll take a few minutes to explain what social workers do to help the homeless. A recent study showed that librarians, as gatekeepers to information, wish they had a more robust understanding of what a social worker does and services available to the homeless. And we felt that you, as gatekeepers to funding, might find this information helpful as well. Through one-on-one interviews, social workers assist individuals in finding housing and support them with the related services that are part of that process. Social workers are trustworthy faces who can help a person receive comprehensive services, not just a sleeping bag or a roof over their head for the night. A social worker helps a homeless person by assessing their needs, by referring them to appropriate services or resources, such as medical services, mental health services, alcohol and drug treatment services, employment programs, and life skills training. They assist with obtaining appropriate housing, and they help access income assistance, pension benefits, disability benefits, or obtaining a bank account. They provide advocacy and legal services support, and they make linkages and referrals to support groups, whether it's a peer support group or an art lesson. Ultimately, the aim of the social worker is to promote the overall physical and psychological wellness of the person. Some social workers do non-clinical work and are advocates for the homeless. Most importantly, they can change government policies. Carol Zeffrey explains that social workers have an important role in advocating for the voices of services users to be heard and incorporated into policy responses, as well as making visible gaps in policy that prevent better outcomes for people who experience homelessness. To prevent loneliness and isolation, it is important for the homeless to be meaningfully engaged and connected to their communities, particularly if housing has meant relocation, and a social worker can help make those social and meaningful opportunities available. By facilitating volunteer opportunities and access to community recreation centers and services, a social worker can help a homeless person replace old habits with new personally fulfilling activities. They can also improve their social and job skills for potential employment. Some social workers, particularly in a library setting, conduct outreach, and there's a spectrum of how much a social worker can offer depending on his or her training. We'd encourage you to watch the PBS Knows story about Leah Esquerga. She's a psychiatrist social worker at the San Francisco Public Library. Some social workers conduct outreach, and there's a spectrum of how much a social worker can offer depending on their training. We'd encourage you to watch the PBS News story about Leah Esquerga in our multimedia section. She's a psychiatrist social worker at the San Francisco Public Library. She approaches people to offer her services, and from the outset, she does what many can do. She provides information. But when she sees that the person is chronically homeless with a physical or mental condition, she sits down with them and does a full clinical assessment in order to best suit all of their needs. This assessment is then taken to a team for case management and follow-up. Many can provide information, and a recent study shows that homeless people feel that they are overloaded with information. But a social worker goes above and beyond that and listens in a sympathetic and non-judgmental manner and finds out the best way to suit all of the person's needs. In brief, that is what and how a social worker can help the homeless.